I want to get straight to these three CEOs who I've got sitting here with me. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. You've brought this group together. Shantanu Narayen from Adobe, Bill McDermott from SAP. I've never seen anything quite like this, frankly, and I've been doing this on air and in print for a while. More than $1 trillion worth of market cap represented by you three gentlemen sitting here, and you're announcing the Open Data Initiative in the cloud. Satya, why is this so important?
You know, the insight that all three of us had, based on the work we're doing with many customers. You know, we talked about Coca-Cola, Unilever, Walmart today as customers who are all excited about this Open Data Initiative. It's their real insight that led us to do this, which is, how do we work to put them in control of their own customer data? Because that's the real currency. Any brand out there cares deeply about their continuous improvement of their own customer data's understanding. Mm-hmm. And the three of us coming together is going to be central to them feeling in control of their own customer data.
And the idea being, Microsoft with Azure Dynamics, you've got a certain set of customer data. Adobe, you've got the Experience Cloud, you've got lots of marketing data, different types of data about the customer and how companies are trying to reach out to the customer. SAP, you've got lots of data too, a lot of it having to do with what's going on inside the company that's affecting customers outside as well. So what are customers going to be able to do, and maybe Bill, I'll toss this one to you, that they couldn't do before once you figure out this open data thing and they're able to read data across all of your platforms?
John, there isn't a CEO in the world that does not want to have a single view of their customer. And they have to connect their demand chain to their supply chain and do so in real time. So if you think about the consumer who's social, mobile, they're geospatial, they're always on the fly, they're going to shop different companies in all channels, direct to consumer, wholesale, retail. And you have to make sure that connection point with that consumer is really intimate. So these companies need to be intelligent enterprises, because more and more AI and predictive analytics is going to rule in how you engage with that customer. But ultimately, what you have to do is fulfill. So now you're going to see the demand and the supply chain completely integrated, and that data will be shared evenly among our companies, so the customer is the major benefactor of the Open Data Initiative we announced today.
And Shantanu, you just announced at Adobe that you're buying Marketo for, I think it was $4.75 billion. I was trying to ask you about that a few days before. You weren't ready to talk to me about it, but you can talk about it now. How does that move in Experience Cloud and what you're trying to build there fit into this broader story?
Well, I think all three of us share this vision of how do we enable enterprises to put customers at the front of the digital journey. And as Satya and Bill said, getting behavioral data, getting transactional data, and getting customer engagement to be the front and center, I think is the most important thing that enterprises can do, so that digital is actually a tailwind rather than headwind. What Marketo does is add to our offerings in the Experience Cloud of being able to create this unified profile for all customers. And the thing that every customer will tell you today is that they want an engaging experience with whoever they're doing business with, whether it's financial services, whether it's automotive, whether it's retail. And Adobe focused a lot more on B2C customers, but the same requirements that were true for B2C customers are now true for B2B customers, and that's what Marketo provides. It's actually a bunch of senior execs built from SAP that are now, running Marketo. So thank you for training them.
To help you out, Shantanu.
Satya, is this a closed party? Are Amazon, Google, Salesforce welcome to this initiative? How does it work from here now that you guys have kicked it off?
We're very, very clear. The name itself should sort of tell everything. It's an open data initiative.
Well, you guys in technology name things, all kinds of stuff, but is it really open?
But the real spirit here is not about us. It is about really unlocking the data that is our customers' data about their own customers. But I think what is foundational here is trust. In other words, ultimately, customers will decide. And compliance with their own customers' trust in them is also going to be very key. Because if you think about it, one of the top considerations for anything around customer data is privacy and regulation around privacy. So the most important thing here would be for each vendor to think through how they participate here and ensure that there is more trust in the entirety of the value chain, starting with the end consumer to the brand and to us as software vendors or tech companies. And so I think depending on the business models, I think the real challenge is going to be for some who may want to join, but their business model is probably not going to allow them to join.
Like, you think it's going to be harder for an Amazon or a Google?
You'll have to ask them. But I think overall, though, what we have all anchored on is if we can create an architecture and an incentive system that turns the tide to put customers in control of their own customer data, I think the overall economy will be better off. So that's what we are trying to get done.
John, if I may add to that for a second, I mean, what we have already demonstrated by having a common taxonomy for this customer journey.
Meaning what?
Meaning how you define a customer, how you define the demographics, how you define the lifetime value, how you define their interests. We have actually agreed across the companies, despite the fact that we have some overlapping products in that space, I think demonstrates our commitment to this open data initiative, and the fact that you have customers who are excited about building on top of the foundation that we have, I think gives us a lot of confidence that this is the right thing for enterprises.
Bill, how long do you think this is going to take?
To
actually get the
starts today.
The specs out on this open data initiative so that other companies can join, people understand what they have to do with their platforms, with their software to be compliant?
I think the big announcement today represents that Microsoft, Adobe, and SAP have already begun this journey. So in terms of others wanting to join the journey, we're happy to share the reference architecture around the ODI initiative. I do think the big story here, though, is trust. And I think Satya and Shantanu both said it very well. Think about trust as the ultimate human currency. Think about customer experience as the most important priority. Think about the power of getting the people inside these companies to focus clearly on what's going on outside of these companies. This idea of the net present value of a more satisfied and loyal customer, plus making the employees more inspired and more loyal, is probably the biggest value driver that we can ever come up with. I mean, think about this. A 5% improvement in retention is equivalent to a 95% improvement in profit for most companies. So if we can connect that data to their consumers and give them an unimaginably good experience, what is that going to do for revenues and profits for all the companies that we care for? It's a big, big breakthrough.
Satya, we're talking about flexibility, we're talking about efficiency, and the backdrop here, we've got a UN General Assembly meeting, we've got something going on with the Deputy Attorney General in Washington, perhaps a change happening there. We've got a trade war happening between the US and China, and that's arguably not the only one going on. To what extent is politics having an impact on the demand for product, your ability to project what demand is going to be out in the marketplace these days, or is business just humming on as usual?
I mean, look, the thing at least that we see, thanks in part to the industry we participate in, is digital technology is increasingly becoming pervasive in all parts of the world, in all sectors of the economy. And so therefore, I think it's incumbent on us as the tech industry to ensure that these businesses are creating opportunity in every economy, in every society. Because if you think about it, the politics is always going to be associated with what's the well-being of any region, any community, in any country. And as long as technology can play a role in that ultimate success in creating surplus that's equitably distributed, I think these short-term bumps will work out. But to me, that's what it is. Both, I think we have a real opportunity, which we are obviously exercising, but we also have a responsibility to make sure that technology's benefits are broad spectrum, broad spread.
And Bill, SAP, a German company, technically, how does not being a US-based company at this time, when there's a lot of trade tension between the US and Europe, between the US and a lot of different countries in Asia. How is that affecting the way people look at SAP when they're looking to engage with technology and build up their businesses?
Well, obviously, we consider ourselves a truly global software company. I think that's a very important distinction. There is no doubt, however, that tensions between, for example, some Asian countries and the United States are pretty high right now, and it's probably less so for a German company if you think about where headquarters might be located. But in all seriousness, I think we're focused, and all tech leaders are responsible around wanting things to work out between countries and technology companies. And right now, I think we all would benefit greatly from an environment where we stay focused on growth. And to me, open countries are prosperous countries. And if you look at the history of the world, anytime a country has been open, it's actually equaled more commerce, more opportunities for everybody. So we abide by that principle. But there's no doubt in the ASEAN countries in particular, I see a newfound strength in our business model.
Shantanu, it feels to me like we're entering a new era in cloud, where more M&A, more partnerships, and initiatives like this one. How do you look at the market? Because it seems for a while, big companies like you guys were holding off on doing a lot of M&A because things were expensive. But your value's gone up too, and it seems like your pace of M&A has picked up a bit. What's your take on the market for M&A right now?
Well, first, I think, all three of us were early adopters of the cloud and recognized the benefits of more rapid innovation that we could do on the cloud, of the trust and security that comes from all of this data being in the cloud. But, I think we look at it and say, in order to really solve fundamental customer problems, putting the onus on integration on customers to work with a number of small companies is just not going to work. And that's where I think, what we're trying to do with ODI is say, if leaders in our categories can come together and make it work, that's going to be extremely facilitative of companies doing it. So I do think you'll see more consolidation as a result of IT professionals not wanting to integrate small systems, but to rely on large companies who are innovating at a fast pace.
Satya, you feel the same?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're really doing is bringing down the friction and improving the agility. One of the interesting things that Bill mentioned was, say, the ASEAN region. If you look at cloud, AI, and the Open Data Initiative, the idea that even a small business in Indonesia can now use SAP, Adobe, and Microsoft to become that much more efficient is the real opportunity. So you're bringing down that barrier to be able to use the latest and greatest technology for every business in every part of the world by really working together. It's easy to get started, it's easy to take data from one place to the other, easy to use AI to reason over it, to create new experiences. And it's amazing. It's in some sense, we're commoditizing the technology as an input for driving business.
Okay. And on M&A, do you expect to see an increased pace?
I think M&A, first of all, if you look at all of our R&D budgets, I think most people obviously gravitate towards M&A, but the organic investments that each of us are making is by far the largest. Of course, we are going to complement that, supplement that with M&A where it makes sense. But I think the real thing that you're seeing is growth in across all our businesses, which is driven by fundamentally organic growth.
Well, it's an extraordinary moment having the three of you sitting here talking about this open data initiative. Satya Nadella, thanks for bringing it all together. Shantanu Narayen from Adobe, Bill McDermott from SAP.
Thank you so much.
Guys in New York, back to you.